So the next exercise that we're going to do together is called the Circle of Strengths. This is a safety structure that comes from the therapeutic spiral model of psychodrama, which is a clinically modified trauma-focused model that was created to prevent re-traumatization when using psychodrama and experiential methods with trauma survivors. We call it TSM, Therapeutic Spiral Model. So TSM was developed by Kate Hudgens and Francesca Toscani 20 plus years ago in response to classical psychodrama's ability to re-traumatize folks. So it's a very strength-based model, which this exercise will demonstrate. So the way the Circle of Strengths works is it's a process in which group members get to identify strengths that they experience within each other, within themselves, and within the group. Anytime that we're working with trauma or addiction, it's essential that we start with establishing strengths, establishing safety. The strengths work helps allow clients to practice vulnerability with positive criteria so that we can move into more difficult criteria. So we teach that there's 3 different categories of strengths. There's personal strengths or intrapsychic strengths. These are strengths that exist within an individual, things such as courage or willingness, determination. Second category of strengths are interpersonal strengths. These are strengths that require more than one person. For example, a connection to family, or the ability to ask someone else for help, the ability to use your story, your experience to help somebody else, a strong relationship with a friend. These are interpersonal strengths. And the third category of strengths are transpersonal strengths. These are strengths that are beyond human, whatever that means for each individual. I like to think of them as more existential or spiritual strengths. For some people, a transpersonal strength might be a connection to God, to a higher power, to archetypes, to purpose or meaning. For some people, music or art might be a transpersonal strength. Anything that you identify as beyond human could be a transpersonal strength. So there's lots of different ways to do this Circle of Strengths exercise. We're going to demonstrate a couple different ways of doing it. So for the first way, I'm going to have everybody find a partner. So go ahead and find a partner. There's an odd number, so one person can partner with me. So next, I'm going to ask you without talking, this will be the hardest part of today, just to take a quick look at your partner and mentally identify one strength that you see in your partner. Don't tell them yet. Just take a look at your partner and mentally identify a strength you see in them. And once you've identified a strength in your partner, I'm going to ask you to come choose a scarf that can represent the strength you see in your partner. So what we're doing is we're concretizing something that's not physical. We're making physical something invisible. So what's a scarf that could symbolize the strength you see in your partner? Everybody's got a scarf? All right. The way this works is when it's your turn, you'll turn and face your partner and present their strength to them. So rather than tell the group about it, it's much more vulnerable, much more meaningful if you talk directly to your partner. So you'll present them with the strength. Use this as a chance to recognize them, to honor them for a strength that you've seen them demonstrate. And when you receive a strength, really take a moment to take it in. Take a moment to recognize that strength within yourself. So, Rachel, I chose this strength, this scarf, to represent it's a firm but gentle compassion and love that I experience in you. Almost like a river or a creek that's flowing. It just keeps on coming and coming. Doesn't stop no matter what happens. And it just kind of embraces whatever's in its path. So I see you demonstrate this in your work.
Thank you so much. And Scott, I chose this scarf to represent your innovation and your creativity, and I see that shining through today when you're trying something new and a little uncomfortable, and you're doing so well, and I wanted to let you know that I see that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So once you've received the strength, and take a moment to take it in, you could place it on the floor. We're going to create a large circle of these strengths.
Dana, after looking into your eyes quietly, I experienced a feeling of being nurtured and feeling just comfort and warmth. And so I chose this scarf because it brought to mind a sort of homely comfort that I experienced in your presence. Will you accept the strength? Sure.
I feel that. Eden, I picked this. It reminded me of courage, and I think of you as courageous. And that's different from brave, because I think you're brave but humble and accessible and really open. So I liked the courage word for you, and this reminded me of a symbol of courage in our culture.
Amy, there's a lot of different strengths I could think of for you, having known you for some time. What came to me today was resilience, just your ability, I might get a little emotional here, to continue showing up for yourself again and again and again. You're always showing up for other people, but that reminder, showing up for you, how important that piece is as well. Yeah, you do a good job of that. You probably don't realize it, but you do a good job of that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you are resilient.
Thank you. I haven't seen you in a while, and something new came to me today, which was inner wisdom, the strength of inner wisdom, a real Yoda vibe. I really see you as a wise woman. And I really honor that and trust that in you. So this recognizes the power you have. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Maria, so as I'm trying to figure out which strength, there's a whole lot that showed up for me in regards to who I see you, how I see you. So this came up because it was bold, brave, and courageous. And I see that. I see that in someone, this woman who's there to bring voice to people who don't have a voice or their voice isn't being heard. Communities of people who are not seen, maybe not given the love, treatment, and respect that's needed. And it's so hard in that level of pain to not be seen, be spoken of, and to be honored. And I believe as a woman, you do this for this community of people and others around you, and you inspire other people to do that. So this solid color is that solidness. I mean, the red, come on, representation, and then being a strong woman. And that inspires me, so I thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Here you are.
Yes.
Kim, I chose this scarf for you for many reasons. One, I've known you, maybe met you a few times,
Yes.
but from the first time I met you, I've always felt that sense of welcoming. And that's something that's really beautiful, and the energy that you give. But I also chose this because I see lots of wisdom, and that you've been places, but you're also going to continue going places.
Well,
And I am so excited to hear about those journeys and where things are going to lead you to. And then also the compassion that you have. Thank you for bringing that to this world.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a Absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see if we can close our circle. All right. So take a look at the circle of strengths that we've created together. And this circle serves as a symbol of containment, a symbol of the power of the group, a reminder that anybody's emotions, anybody's stories, anybody's traumas can be held and contained within this circle, within the strengths of the group. And it serves logistically as a stage for a psychodrama. Often we do this exercise right before moving into a psychodrama, and here we have our stage. So this is a safety structure. And during a client group, if someone were to become overwhelmed or dysregulated, I could ask them to come pick up the strength that somebody gave to them earlier, or reverse roles with the strength that somebody gave them earlier. Hold on to it. Tell me about how this strength could help them with whatever emotions are coming up for them in the group, and provide an extra level of containment and safety throughout the process. Another way that we can do it is by having group members choose scarves to represent strengths that you see in the group as a whole, in this group as its own entity. So I'm just going to ask for 3 or 4 people to step in and choose a scarf that can represent a strength that you've experienced in this entire group. Can we have 3 or 4 people step in for that? All right. Want to start us off, Ben?
I was looking for something that had a lot going on, and I think this scarf has a lot going on, especially if you look at it. There's a yellow, blue, black, green, red, and white, so a lot of different colors. And so I chose this because there seems to be like a pretty good diversity of like personality specifically just within this group, and how cohesive that can be. You know, I know at certain times in my life, different personalities, we get a little bit of a different result than cohesion. So that's why I picked this one here.
I saw the scarf with the skulls on it, and it was super cool, just like all of us. But I think what the skulls remind me of are difficult experiences in our past. And you know, everybody here has had some sort of struggle or have seen struggle in the people that we work with. And so this scarf to me represents resiliency and post-traumatic growth.
I chose this scarf because to me this is a playful scarf, and to me this is also a very playful group.
I chose the scarf because it's very beautiful and colorful, and I also see a lot of history in the scarf that I think all of you bring, and a lot of strength, and I'm really happy that this is, you know, who you are and what you bring to the world.
So as we add more strengths to the circle, we're strengthening our circle of strengths. That there's plenty of other scarves here and many other strengths that have not been acknowledged in our peers, in group members. And this is an exercise that allows us to make physical some of these unseen or non-physical strengths. We've all seen the strengths in each other. This just brings them more to consciousness, allows us to recognize them, to acknowledge within each other. I almost think of it as a ceremony or a ritual of acknowledging each other. So the video that you just viewed demonstrates the Circle of Strengths experiential process, which comes from the therapeutic spiral model of psychodrama. Again, I found the Circle of Strengths to be one of the best group methods for developing cohesion, safety, and connection between group members, and it does so focusing on positive criteria. The video demonstrated the interpersonal way of doing the Circle of Strengths, where participants are sharing strengths with each other, and it also demonstrated the group as a whole way of identifying strengths in the entire group. Of course, there's other ways to do this process. The original way it was created was by having participants choose a scarf that could represent a strength they see in themselves, and one at a time to tell the group about the strength that they bring to the group. I found that it's usually not best to start with this method because it's a little more difficult for clients to do, although usually professionals are able to do this method. Sometimes I'll start with the interpersonal way and have clients identify strengths that they see in each other first, and then I'll move on to the personal way, where they're identifying their own strengths. Usually by that time they're a little bit more warmed up and able to see some of the strengths and goodness within themselves after somebody else has pointed it out to them. I find that the process of having them identify strengths they see in the entire group can be really helpful at establishing a greater sense of cohesion and universality, in that they're starting to think about the group as its own entity and some of the characteristics of the group as its own entity. It increases the level of group consciousness within individual participants. Now, one other way of doing this process, which is a little bit more advanced, is to ask participants if there's a strength that they feel like they would want more of. And let's say, for example, a participant says, "Yeah, I really feel like I could use more courage." At that point, I would ask the rest of the group to raise their hand if they've seen so-and-so demonstrate courage before. And usually when I do this, everybody in the group raises their hand, and the individual who asked for courage is already feeling a little more resourced. At that point, I'll ask a few group members who did raise their hands to take a step into the circle and to choose a scarf that can represent courage for the participant who asked for it. And one at a time to present that strength to the first participant, reminding them of moments or experiences where they've demonstrated courage in the past. So this provides them with 3 or 4 group members affirming and reaffirming that they do possess the capacity for courage, and reminding them of specific concrete examples of how they've demonstrated it. At that point, we would add the strength into the circle with the rest of the other strengths. One other way of doing this exercise, which I find is best for professional groups or organizational groups, is to have participants choose a scarf to represent a strength that they experience in the organization as a whole, or in the program as a whole. For example, when I provide consultation to other treatment centers, and we do this process, I invite them to choose a strength that they experience in their entire organization. And this allows them to connect with each other about the shared mission, the shared values, and the shared strengths that they experience within their organization, and to enhance their commitment to the organization at the same time. Another way of focusing the Circle of Strengths exercise in professional groups would be identifying strengths in a specific modality, approach, or field. For example, if I'm working with a group of social work students, and I wanted to focus on the social work profession as a whole, I could ask them to choose a scarf that represents a strength that they experience in the social work profession specifically. Or, for example, if I'm teaching a class on psychodrama, I could ask participants to choose a scarf to represent a strength that they experience specifically and uniquely related to the psychodramatic approach. Of course, there's other ways of doing this exercise, and there's ways to modify it for teletherapy and individual sessions. When I'm working in individual sessions, I might use scarves to concretize strengths, or I might just use any object in the room. When we're doing teletherapy sessions, this exercise can become even more useful because clients are choosing objects to represent strengths, but the objects they're choosing are in their own living space. So they might choose the plant to represent their courage. And we might do a process of connecting with the plant representing their courage. And when the session's over, the plant remains in their room. And they continue every time they walk into that room to see the plant and to have those positive projections towards the plant, reminding them of their courage. If you're doing groups on teletherapy, you could use the breakout room function to have participants share strengths that they experience in each other. You could use a shared application that allows participants to draw on a blank canvas as a way of visually creating the same circle of strengths that we create in regular group sessions when we're in person. There's really a variety of different ways to use this exercise in groups, in individual sessions, in community sessions, in teaching sessions or the classroom, and on teletherapy. If you found this video useful, I encourage you to check out some of the other videos that we created focusing on teaching experiential therapy techniques. You can find links to those videos in the description below.